So we'll kick it off with this theme of change makers. I think, a lot of us have had a person who has played such a huge role in our professional, academic, personal paths. And I'd like to invite you to kind of reflect on what is a change maker to you, and is there a change maker in your life that you would like to highlight with us today? And I'd actually like to kick it off with our alumni. And Stephanie, if you don't mind, I'd love for you to start, and I'll kick it off to you, Stephanie.
Yeah, I'm really happy to share. So to define changemaker to me, I think it's someone who literally takes action, performs action, inspires others, and leaves things different than the way they came into it. For me, I would say Marcy, who was a director of content marketing at McKesson, was the changemaker in my life. So I entered McKesson as a corporate communications intern. And prior to McKesson, I've held multiple internships. I always worked closely with my assigned manager and my assigned team, never really beyond that. At McKesson, I shared that I was interested in social media. Marcy paid attention to that, and she started inviting me to all her team meetings ever since then. She took the action to actually set up a one-on-one with me, an informational call, get to know who I am as a person. And over a month's time, I actually had the chance to even dig in a new project that I wasn't necessarily hired for, but very interested in. And it didn't stop at McKesson. She checked in with me throughout post McKesson, asked me what I'm interested in, recommended that I try a career in tech because tech hires comms and marketing people too. And I didn't know that. I didn't know tech needed people like me. But because of her encouragement and her taking the action to just see some kind of potential in me, took me to, that courage to apply for marketing roles outside of, healthcare and government that I was used to. I somehow landed an internship at Autodesk the past summer because of her just believing in me. So to me, Marcy is a change maker, and I think it's someone who literally takes action and changes, people different than the way they first met them. And I'm so glad to really share that experience with you all today. She is awesome. We still talk today.
Wow, well, shout out. Oh my God, that's so incredible. Jennifer, is there a change maker in your life that you'd like to chat with us about, or what's a change maker to you?
Hi, so yes, there is a specific change maker that has been there for me actually my whole life. It's my older sister. She right now is the Associate Director of Nursing for Santa Rosa Community Health. And for me, she's been a change maker because despite her being undocumented for the majority of her time in the US, she still pursued pursued a career in healthcare, and she was able to overcome any of the obstacles that came her way. She was able to graduate from college, and then from there she moved up, networked with a bunch of people despite her not knowing much about the college process. And right now in the community, she is a part of different teams and networks. And for me, she's been a change maker because she continues to inspire young Latinx women. And in her team, she manages a bunch of nurses that are also Latinas and also women of color. And for me, that's amazing because not a lot of women of color are in director positions. And I like seeing that because it motivates me to do better. And I am considering a career in healthcare as well. So for me, just seeing her going above and beyond helping people in the community, especially those that are underrepresented, is just great because I want to do the same thing. And she just helps me to continue pursuing my goals and to continue staying positive despite the current pandemic.
So it sounds like your sister inspired you to go into the public health field. So it sounds like your sister had a huge influence in, where you want to pursue kind of your professional and academic path. Anna, I'd like to, kick it off to you. What's a change maker to you? And has there been someone in your life that you want to share with us today?
Sure. So I'm probably going to get in trouble for this because there are quite a few who have been fantastic in my life, and I have different reasons to thank them for different things. But for me, the definition of a change maker is somebody that kind of blazes a trail for themselves and makes sure to take those who are behind them with them so that they can hopefully change different things and not the same not feel like they have to carve necessarily the same exact route because they've done that work for you, so it's a little bit easier for you. I'm really privileged and lucky that I actually get to work for my Changemaker. Her name is Anilu Vasquez-Ubari. She's the Chief Human Resources Officer and a partner at TPG. And we've kind of moved through the ranks of, mentor, coach, sponsor for the last, I'd say 14 years. And she's been everything from a friend to somebody who kicks me forward when I need it in a gentle and loving way. And so I'm extremely appreciative for the influence that she's had in just my personal and professional life over the last decade.
Thank you for sharing that. It's incredible how you bump into people in your workplace and they end up becoming such a huge part of your life. Deirdre, would you like to share with us?
Sure. So this was a really interesting conversation to me because I hadn't thought about this in a long time. And so when I think back about change makers, for me, there are a few, much like Anna, I have more than one. But the one who had the lasting impact was the one that caused me to really focus and think about my gifts and sort of assess those and make decisions about how I wanted to move forward. His name is Ed Hawthorne. He's since left financial services, but I would say that it was impactful to me, as are all change makers, because they cause us to look inward, right, and assess our gifts and be really realistic and honest about the gifts that each of us have and can bring, right, to not look at what everybody else is doing, but what is uniquely ours.
Thank you for sharing that. I'll kick it off to Victor.
Thank you. First, when I think about a change maker, I think of someone that adds intellectual capital. Someone that helps you overcome challenges, not weaknesses, because I don't like using that term, but really a challenge, an opportunity, if you will. And it's someone that helps you within your career, your education, your hobbies, your passions, whatever it may be. And I think back to one specific individual who's no longer with us by the name of Peter Quesada. And Peter is a musician all his life. And I was a young musician, and at the age of 14, he saw me waiting with other musicians as we left the conservatory. It was a service, it was a program that existed near my house, and I was heavily involved in music to keep me out of the streets. And he saw me and he asked me, "Oh, you're a musician, obviously you have your instrument, and would you be interested in performing with us at a concert that we're gonna host?" This was right after the LA riots, and it was gonna be a free concert at MacArthur Park. And I said to him, "Sure." Well, it doesn't pay anything, but at that point I was like, what experience I can gain from this would be great. And what I saw, what I learned from Peter was that he went out into the community searching young musicians from all backgrounds and in the low to moderate income community, and really trying to pair them up with musicians from the Hollywood Bowl, from the LA Philharmonic, students at USC or UCLA, and really help with those passions and really bring them together. And so I think of that, and we stayed in contact for many years up until his very last days. And I can always say that is someone there that really, really helped me out. And I see as a change maker because it was just in his heart. It's who he was.
Wow. And you talk a little bit about a community leader and someone that was really deeply involved in their communities. Daniela, your background is so interesting because you kind of put those two together. Daniela, I'll kick it off to you, a change maker, and what's a change maker to you?
A change maker to me is somebody who opens your mind to a different perspective, someone who challenges you to think in ways for yourself and for others that you may not have thought before. And so for me, the person that came to mind is somebody who I actually don't really speak often about, but it was somebody who I worked for. His name was Ori, and he was the co-founder for a startup I worked at once I immediately left public policy. And I took a job, I took this job at his company because, we were focused on digital mortgage, making it more accessible and easy for people in the Bay Area to buy a home, which for those of you who've tried to go through that process, it's really hard. And I came to a crossroads in my career where I wasn't feeling challenged. I was feeling like I was missing this inspiration and this passion I had for social justice and community organizing. And I had a job come across be offered to me, and And I decided to turn it down. And I was like in this whole emotional, like, oh my gosh, this was the wrong decision. That was my dream job. Why am I doing this? But I talked to Ori, and I was just very honest, you know, like, hey, I'm confused as to what I should do. What do you know, I want to stay here, but I also am not sure if it's the right fit. And instead of, you know, focusing on, well, the best thing for the business or the best thing, you know, for Syndio, it was, Danielle, I wanted to give you what the best thing is for you. And I think you should actually talk to a coach. And so he connected me with a professional coach that he used to give him advice on, you know, anything workplace related. And my family doesn't have a lot of experience in the professional corporate world. And this has actually become an invaluable resource for me to know that I have somebody I can go to who is outside of my family, who is outside of my company, who I can lean on for how do I navigate my experiences as a woman of color in tech, as a woman of color who might struggle with some of these things. So he was a change maker for me because he helped me realize I can really carve my own path and I don't need to do it alone. So I have a lot of thanks for him. He probably doesn't realize that had a big impact on me. So I'll have to tell him one day.
Thomas, you have quite an interesting career path as well. You kind of started in kind of international work, and now you're at LinkedIn. But I'd love to kind of get your thoughts on what is a change maker to you, and is there someone that you'd like to share about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I love hearing these stories, by the way, of these inspiring folks. So I can share an example of a change maker in more of an institutional setting. And so as I think about what it means to be a change maker, I think about people that have a combination of an ability to recognize when a change needs to be made in the first place, and then also an ability to think about what strategies can I put in place to actually implement a change in that environment. And a lot of people have one or the other, and I think the really powerful change makers can actually do both. And so I'm thinking of a person at LinkedIn, a longtime executive who had been at the organization since his very early days and had built a very large team. And this person took a lot of pride in the culture that he had created within his organization. And there was a moment when a couple of folks came up to him and said, do you realize that your leadership team, the vast majority of the people on your leadership team are men? And that became a real inflection point for this leader. And I think a lot of people have a tendency to retreat into defensiveness. And his approach was to recognize that there actually is a problem here and there's a change that needs to be made. Not only that, but it was a problem of his own making. And so his approach was to say, okay, let me communicate to my organization that at this point was thousands of people and say, this organization that I built, that we built together, I'm very proud of it. There's a lot of great things about it, but there are problems in it as well. And these problems are actually creating barriers to us to be able to be successful as an organization and as a company. And then he said, so we're going to treat this like any other business problem that we would come across as an organization. We're going to put resources against it. We're going to put money, and we're going to put people against it. We're going to develop a set of strategies, and we're going to track our success against those strategies. And as a result of that work, or that was initiated with this particular change maker, we went from having less than 25% of our leaders being women to over 40% in a couple of years. And so that combination of the vision and also the ability to say, let me actually put together a strategy that's going to work is a rare and powerful combination.